You ever had a feeling that someone's watching you, or the sensation of someone following you? Many more feelings and sensations for this is the After Dark podcast. Welcome back, guys, to episode 15 of the After Dark podcast. I am very much excited because it marks halfway point of October. Not only that, so we're only 16 days away of Halloween, but you know, it just means there's 15 more episodes, right? So I had a thing in mind, and we are just gonna have to wait until tomorrow if I do decide to go with my idea. But for now, it is episode 15. How are you guys? Hopefully you guys had a really good day today. Hopefully you guys are having a really good evening tonight. And well, yeah, you know, like I said, episode 15, October 15, Monday as well. So hopefully everybody is doing good in school, at work, anywhere that you may be in the world right now. Hopefully you guys are having the time of your life. So, like in any fashion, because I don't know how to fix things for podcast use. I don't know. I am fixing the tags myself physically right now, so I do apologize if we do take a little longer. But yesterday we did finish some Japanese yokai stories, and you know, my Japanese isn't fluent, but I can read. Like I said, some hiragana, kanji, and katakana are just out of the question for me at the moment because that's hard. Yeah. So let me just finish these thingies, and we will be getting on the way. But yeah, so today we're going back to the roots and just read some good old scary stories. So I found a website. I don't know if we have read it. We have read from the website before, but the website's called Jezebel.com. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. But hopefully, I mean, I was skimming through some of these stories, and I don't think I have read them before, but we will see. We will definitely see in a bit. So, a couple more tags, and I'll get to you guys in a bit. Also, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hit you up with that surprise. I want you guys to be surprised. Oh boy. Wow, okay. Now, when I started this podcast, I wanted to start it off with a personal story. In the few first episodes we did, but unfortunately, I ran out. I ran out in episode 6 or 5. I can't remember, but I did, and oh my gosh, just so bad, so bad. But yeah, how do you guys feel about urban legends, though? Right, we did the whole 50 state urban legends, and to me, it was awesome. I liked it. Also, want to point out that I think I am feeling kind of sick. I don't wanna admit that I am probably getting sick because I refuse to get sick because being sick sucks. So I'm gonna try to take care of myself as much as I can, and so that way we can continue with all these scary stories. So we're over on Yo Twitter right now, and this should be the last stop before we actually start the show. So, the After Dark podcast. You guys think I should have come up with a better name? I don't really know, to be honest with you. I like it. I like the name, the After Dark podcast. The After Dark podcast. If I didn't know there was a show called the Midnight, a group called the Midnight Society, I would have done that, but it wouldn't make any sense because I would have to start the podcast at midnight. It's got a little stretch for me because I do want to sleep. Sleep and I go hand in hand. We're like jam and butter, right? So we go together. But anyways, we're almost done with these tags, and we will get to the thingies right now. Indeed, we will. Uh, but yes, scary stories for adults. Ah, look at that. We should have just like, um, we should have just done that. We should have just like called the podcast "Scary Stories for Adults." That would make a little more sense. A little bit, not a lot. But anyways, hopefully you guys are having a really good day, and hopefully just sit back and let me do all the reading for once, right? Oh, my water bottle's like right next to me. I was like, where's my water bottle? Okay, so Jezebel.com brings us an article called "Here are 10 of the scariest, most bone-chilling stories you'll ever read." And thank you, Madeline Devis, for the article. She uploaded it on the 10th, 28th, 2016 at 12:30 p.m. and it's filed under Scary Stories. So if you guys want to read these for yourselves later on, you can. The website's called Jezebel.com. Jezebel.com. So, okay, it goes. The header of the thing says, "We read your emails and dug into the grave. Sorry, the graves. To find the most varied, most frightening stories submitted by you, our dearest readers, for this year's Halloween Scary Story Contest. That we've unearthed are 10 of the scariest tales of ghosts, demons, stalkers, murderers that we have read. Without further ado, without further delay, here are the winners." So these, careful while reading, you might pick up something or someone that you can't shake up. Note: some stories have been edited by Jezebel for grammar. Yeah, so this was a contest, and these people pretty much won the contest. So the first story is called "This is Maria" by Library Annie Again. Library and again. Anna, I don't know. My husband and I live in a small, unincorporated town on the outskirts of a bigger city. Although we are almost 50 years old, we are 30 to 40 years younger than any of our neighbors. Most of them have grandchildren to visit regularly and drive them wherever they need to go. Not so for the man I usually just call Professor. His wife Elena died 12 years ago. I only knew her briefly, but she and the professor were one of those life goal kind of couples. I loved spending time with them. They were both so erudite and witty, and clearly still deeply in love. Elena her hus- passing hit her husband hard for the last year, and he had been battling cancer. With no bus service in the rural area, and cabs from and to town are expensive and long wait, I ended up driving him to the doctor. The professor had been in the U.S. since his 20s, but he still retained a charming foreign accent. My name? He pronounced it as on air. Usually when he phoned me, he would say, "Good afternoon, Ani." Sometimes he would call in the wee hours in pain, able to only gasp, "Ani." I would drop the phone and run to his house to help him with his meds or take him to the city's emergency room. He was adamant about not staying away from home. He knew the end was near, and he wanted to go in his own bed. On October 1st, at almost 4 a.m., my cell phone rang showing the professor's number, and I answered. A strange voice asked, "Ani?" "Yes," I answered. "Professor?" "No," the voice giggled. "This is Maria. I'm taking him tonight." Then I woke up. I was sitting up in bed with the phone in my hand. My husband and our dog were sleeping soundly, so the phone hadn't really rung. Or had it? I started to call the professor, but if he was managing to get some sleep, I didn't want to disturb him. So I got up and dressed quietly, and the dog and I slipped out to the backyard. I could see the professor's house from here. No lights were on, and everything was quiet. I wasn't comfortable though, so I went ahead and dialed 25 rings, no answer. Damn, I knew it then. I went back in and woke my husband up. We walked to the house and knocked. Nothing. We had to phone the sheriffs. They broke in and the professor had died. Seemingly peaceful in his bed. Because of our unincorporated location, any of the chores would which would have fall to professionals in an urban area are taken up by the neighbors here. So that evening, with the deputy's supervision, the families in our block began to sort through the professor's papers. We needed the deed to his burial and any kind of will to link the distant relations. I looked through a small scrapbook of old photos that was in his nightstands. There was no cousin Marco from the old century or nephew Bob, New Jersey, 1997. It was mostly pictures of Milena and the professor, and they'd never spoken of young daughter Maria, who had died in Oaxaca in 1971. Wow, that was that was interesting. The professor, um, wait a minute, hold up. I kind of lost myself a little bit. Oh, by the way, let me point this out: that the gift you're seeing in front of your screens, it's not mine. I picked it up randomly from Google, and you know, it pretty much goes with the sound that you guys are hearing. So I don't take full credit on this picture, and just continue with my evaluation of the story. Maria, huh? Hmm. No cousin Marco from the old country or nephew Bob, New Jersey, no, New York City, 1997. It was mostly a picture of Elena and the professor, and they never spoken of young daughter Maria who had died. Oh, okay. So, the professor was married to somebody named Elena, right? If I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Grandchildren. Yeah. And died 12 years ago. And on October 1st, almost at 4 a.m., her cell phone rang and showed the professor's number. And when Maria answered the phone, a strange voice asked if it was Ani. Ani? Anna? So her name was Anna, right? And, well, she answered, yes, this is Anna, or whatever. And she also said, professor, and they answered, no, this is Maria. I'm taking him tonight. So his daughter came back for his professor, for her dad, pretty much, right? Wow, that's very interesting. This next story, before take another water break, it's called "At My Window" by Margarita Atwood. Okay, and it goes. When I was little, it was just my mom and I in this tiny, tiny house in a small town. I have a freakishly good memory, so I can clearly remember the layout of my tiny room, which was the laundry room from the previous owner. It was long and narrow, with just enough room for my crib against the wall, and a window high up on the other. Now, I've always hated the window at night. I won't look at I won't look out at them. I kept the curtains shut or past them. My fear was always been that I'll look out and see a face staring back. After a bad breakup in my early 20s, I moved back home with my mom, and after she observed this behavior, I told her my weird paranoia. She kind of laughed and proceeded to tell me that I was about 2. I would scream and scream that there was a man at my window. I had nightmares, so she didn't really think much of it until one night she came in to to shut me up. And there he was. A fucking man staring at the window. I looked at her. She was she was nuts. How could I not have known this? Then she continued to tell me that the man was the father of one of my really good friends growing up. He was known for peeping into single women's windows. She also didn't tell me I had a benign heart murmur. And when the doctor discovered it once again, my early 20s, that scared the shit out of me too. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, Mom, thanks. You told me you had... Well, hold up. First of all, why won't you tell your kids that they have a tumor in their hearts? Right? Oh, no. A murmur. My bad. I'm sorry. A murmur. Come on, man. That's the one thing that you want to tell your kids. Hey, yeah, first of all, when you were like around this age, we took you to the doctor regularly, because of certain conditions and this and that. So, if you're planning to move out, take care of yourself. I mean, wouldn't that be the sensible thing to do or the sensible thing to say to your daughter? But anyways, peeping on windows, like, come on, man. Like, if you're just chilling in your home and all of a sudden, like, a fight breaks out outside or an argument breaks out, curiosity will get the better of you and you want to go. You want to see what's out that window. And, for for curiosity's sake, you just even turn off your TV because you're thinking, hey, this could probably be better than what I'm watching. Who knows? And you look out and boom, there it is. Fight going on or a breakup going on. I don't know. But when you're looking inside of a home, that's when things get creepy, right? I mean, why would you do that? Why would you look inside somebody else's window with no rhyme or reason? Like, what's your excuse? Oh, I'm a big pervert? Come on, man. Dude, like, really? Come on. How could I not have known this? She continued to tell that the man was the father of one of my really good friends growing up. He was known for peeping into single women's windows. See what I mean? I don't know. It just really blows my mind that people like that actually exist. I will freak out. And then, do my thing. Like, go off karate mode and be like, why you at my window? You may not know this, but I was trained once by a DVD I bought from Chuck Norris, and I pretty much, he's pretty much my sensei now. But anyways, I hit my mic because I do have my lovely tea here. Okay, whew. That's pretty good. Okay, so at my window, let's continue with the stories. We're just gonna be like, it's sort of like a pit stop, and we'll talk about a couple of things here and there. But wow, this is a long one. This one's called 911 Calling by Indiana Joanne. Hold up, before I start, hopefully I don't get lost. Okay. This took place when I was about 10 years old. My mom had rather quickly filed for divorce, but she only had a part-time job and made very little money. So finding a place to stay that was affordable and available immediately was tough. A friend of hers told her that she and her husband had a little mobile home that was currently sitting empty and we could rent it for practically for free till we figured out something else. I immediately didn't like the house. Part of this, I'm sure, was due to my parents' abrupt divorce and having my life turned upside down, but it was also just the house itself. We lived in a mountain town, and this mobile home was way up a steep mile-long driveway. Beautiful pine trees surrounded surrounded it, but the house itself, it looked abandoned and, well, out of place. It had two bedrooms and two bathrooms. So my brother and I shared the room, and my mom took the bedroom with the attached bathroom. It was a very 70s home with wood paneling and dated fixtures. There were also areas that showed strange damage, like holes in the wall that were badly patched up. For whatever reason, I immediately refused to use the hallway bathroom. I wouldn't even step into it. My mom never really asked me why or questioned it, but then just used her bathroom. Anyway, my mom was gone a lot, trying to find whatever work she could, so I would be at home alone a lot after school and on the weekends. Each time I received a 911 call, I was by myself. My mom always told us not to answer the door, but we should answer the phone in case it was her. So when the phone rang one afternoon, I figured it would be my mom since no one really had her number yet. There was a woman on the phone who sounded very concerning. Hello? Is this 911? Returning your call. We received your call, but we got disconnected, the woman said. I immediately got a sick feeling. I told her that I did not call 911, and she asked me if there was anyone else in the house who might have called. I said I was home alone, but I started to get really worried about that. Maybe I wasn't. She said she would dispatch the police to our address just to make sure everything was okay. At that point, I was terrified to be in the house, so I sat outside nervously waiting for the police, who showed up in about 15 to 20 minutes. The officer asked if I had called 911, and I said no. But they claimed I had called them. The officer just sort of shrugged and said, "This kind of things happen. They say that the number can't get mixed up, but it happens." He did a curious glance around the outside of the house and left. I tried to convince myself that the officer was right, but it was just a mixed up phone call, and hopefully whoever did actually call got the help they needed. About a month later, the same thing happened. I got the other phone call from 911 saying that they had received a call from my number. I told them again that it must have been a mistake. The woman on the phone scolded me a bit, telling me that 911 isn't something to play around with, and I was preventing people from getting help. She didn't dispatch any police this time. Again, I was really worried someone was in the house, so I cautiously checked and made sure all the doors were still locked. I didn't know why, but I always kept the hallway bathroom door closed. Maybe because of the eerie feeling I got from it. As I was checking the house, I just knew someone was in the bathroom. I was terrified. Part of me felt like I needed to open the door to check, maybe to prove myself wrong, but I was too afraid. So I just sat in the living room, watching that door. It was so quiet in the house that after a few minutes, I swore I started to hear faint little sounds coming from inside, like a kind of shuffling noise. I asked my mom to check the bathroom when she got home, and she quickly looked inside. She made me come and look to see that it was empty, and I was letting my imagination get the better of me. The 911 calls happened 3 more times over the coming months, and only when I was home alone. The fourth time, the dispatcher told me I could face criminal charges for what I was doing, and they would contact my parents. I hung up the phone, sobbing, terrified. I had the feeling that someone was in the house again, but if I called 911, they wouldn't even show up. I felt like the girl who cried wolf, only it wasn't me. It was like someone was playing a horrible, twisted joke on me. I sat and watched the bathroom door again, hearing noises like someone dragging their fingers across the floor. I decided my mom was right, and I was probably just letting my imagination get away. I decided to try to leave the bathroom door open so I wouldn't get so freaked out by the thought that somebody was in there. Then I got the fifth 911 call. This time, though, after I hung up the phone with the dispatcher, the bathroom door slammed shut. I ran. I ran all the way down our steep driveway and found a place to wait till my mom pulled on the driveway. When she arrived, she was angry with me for leaving the house, but she saw how upset I was. I think maybe she thought I was acting out due to the stress of the divorce. I refused to be alone in the house again, though, so we worked it out. So I would stay later at school or even go to a nearby friend's house till she got off work. Not long after this, we got a notice from our mom's friend that we needed to move out of the house because her mom needed a place to stay. I was so grateful to be moving out. I told my mom she needed to tell her friend that someone was wrong. Something was wrong with the house. They made a little typo there. By my mom, but my mom thought that it was a ridiculous way to pay back someone's generosity. I moved around a lot for the next few years. I'm sorry about that. Let me turn down. Okay. I moved around a lot the next few years and tried to forget about that house. It wasn't until I was older that I really thought about it. I witnessed an accident and had to call 911, and fear and paranoia all came flooding back. I decided to do some research, which honestly, I wish I never had. A few years back, we moved in. A woman was killed in the house, and she kind of in some kind of domestic dispute. It was days though before she was found, shot up in the bathroom. Wow. So, ooh, I don't know about this one. I do apologize for the noise in the background. Sneezing happens to everybody. And, I try to mute the mic as fast as I can. So, the sneeze didn't get away. The sneeze didn't get away. But, what did get away was this story. Oh my. Oh my word. Let me take a sip of my tea and we'll get going with the analysis. What I didn't know, what totally got out of this whole story was, let me try to find the part. They had 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, so my brother and I shared a room. Okay, he has a brother. Where the hell is his brother throughout the story? What? Hold up. Because, first of all, how old is his brother? It doesn't say how old the brother was. And secondly, where was the brother all this time? Maybe it was the brother calling 911 from from the room, and this kid just all of a sudden let his imagination just run out, thinking that it was somebody else, and the little boy just hung up when the dispatcher said 911, what's your emergency? Boom, hanged up. The dispatcher all of a sudden calls again, and that happened. I mean, throughout the whole story, not even in the ending, it says where the brother was. Come on. I want to know what happened to the brother. But, nevertheless, that was a really good story. I liked it. I mean, the mom comes home showing him that there's something to fear but imagination getting loose. And, it turns out that he wasn't just imagining things. Someone actually did die in the bathroom. What a coincidence. See, this is why when you buy a new home or rent a new house or rent an apartment, you want to do your research. You may never know what went down there. Okay, moving along. This was called My Baby by Seven Hells, and he spelled 7 with the literal number in the middle of SE, number 7, SEN. Okay. I will preface this with the fact that unnatural movement freaks me out a lot. My husband and I were laying in bed one night when we heard a noise. Nothing crazy, just a small rustling noise. We argued over who should check it out. Decided it was nothing, and we tried to go back to sleep. Heard it again. What the hell? You go. No, you go. While we were arguing in whisper, because my daughter's bedroom had an adjoining door, We heard it again, near our foot, near the foot of our bed. I turned on my phone to see a light and saw my daughter on the floor. She was on all fours, cocked her head, turned her face towards the light, and in the most disturbing angle, and then fucking skittered on all fours back into her room and into her bed. My husband and I were absolutely horrified, terrified, pissing ourselves. She was sleepwalking or crawling and had no recollection. She did creepy she did creepy sleepwalking things after that for years, usually while we were all watching scary movies or lying in bed in the dark. Kids are the worst. Wow. I mean, if you guys have kids, do you guys see or little brothers, I mean, that counts too, right? Do you guys see them sleepwalking or doing something very interesting as walking on all fours, turning to swear to God, my daughter would have done that. Smacked her silly. Bam, wake up. I know you're not supposed to or something like that. Like you're not supposed to wake up like sleepwalking people, but boy, if they don't deserve it, like I understand them walking, all weird, like just walking and then like all of a sudden going to the back, going to the the fridge, and closing it, like thinking that they are actually getting something. But if you see a little kid just like walking on all fours, dude, that's when you start smacking him with the cross or something. Take out the Bible, holy water that. But you know, it's all fun. It's all in the fun of the story. So, let me tell you guys, how are you guys enjoying the After Dark podcast? 15 episodes in, we're reading pretty good stories. I just wish you guys had more stories to tell. If you do have any stories you guys want to share with me, hit me up on Twitter with the hashtag the After Dark podcast. Let the rain pass, and I'll tell you more about it. Hold up. All right. If you guys have any stories that you guys want to share, and I'll read them, and I'll give full credit to whoever sends me their story. Send them over to me on Twitter. I would love to read you guys' stories, urban legends, scary stories, or even real scary stories, because a lot of people have things that happen to them, but they just don't know how to let it out. And I am no one to be giving advice, but hey, at least I'm free, right? At least I'm free instead of going to a psychologist that pretty much costs you money. I think each session. I don't know. Never been to one. But, share your stories. Vent out, and I'll give you if you don't want to, if you don't want me to read the name, you can put in like an anonymous. So, you will definitely know your story, right? Because you wrote it. So, share them over on Twitter. I would like to read it. Okay, moving on. This story is called "A Different Kind of Grinder" by Look for the Nine. I've only told this story to my closest friend. I haven't even confided in my sister for fear of the obvious shame. Please buckle in because this tale needs to be told in length. And by the way, this one is a kind of a long one. Okay. I went to college in Chicago, which has a large gay community. Now, gay men are true champions of delivering technology to their sexual prowess. Grindr was on the map as the go-to hookup app here before the straights got into the teasy, all tizy about Tinder. I normally use Grindr to expedite getting my rocks off, but I was having an off week and decided to use a platform that more to the point, Craigslist. I posted a listing. Oh, I hold up. My page moved. Okay. I posted a listing looking for a hookup with a good looking, slightly older man. And within a few hours, I settled in on a fit 30 something. This was a Friday night, and he agreed to pick me up in my apartment building. Then he would take me to he would take me back to my place and we flew around. He picks me up at my nearest intersection. He's just as attractive as his picture. Yes, but something's off. Personality wise, I can only describe it as he was a little off, but wasn't off in a slow or stupid way. In fact, it was a total opposite. He was incredibly nice, his voice was kind and light, but there was something to practice behind it. In retrospect, the more I think about it, the more it feels rehearsed, calculated, like a razor blade hiding in a popsicle. He asked me a little about myself, but he didn't respond when I asked him the same question. He just smiled and laughed it off. What I did manage to get out of him was that he worked in real estate. Remember this. He had told me earlier, though through email, that he lived in X and Y Street. I wrote this off as a blip originally because those two streets ran parallel, and he essentially told me that he lived in the middle of the road. We were in his car for about 8 minutes when he had already passed these two streets by a few blocks. I lived in a popular walkable area at this moment. I told myself, you can get out of the car now and you can run home. You're still close enough. But I ignored my gut. I told myself that I was overanalyzing. We got to his place after a 35-minute car ride. We're out of the city and in a neighborhood. Right away, his house is clean. But again, it's too clean. Everything was so polished, nothing out of place. There was a Dexter level of cleanliness to it. We got to the kitchen, which was in the back of the house, and after minutes of more awkward conversations, I wrapped my hands around him and kissed him. Except he didn't receive the kiss. My lips made contact with his, but his lips remained flat and at rest. There was a moment of pause, and he smiled against my kiss. He wasn't a this wasn't a friendly smile. This was a knowing smirk. He tells me that this is his first time and he's very, very nervous. He excuses himself and runs down the basement. The stairs down are next to the kitchen. There are no there are not a straight stair they're not a straight staircase. They turn to a right angle after halfway down, which prevented me from seeing what is actually downstairs. He's down there for a good 5 to 10 minutes. I hear stuff rustling around, metal things clinging together. I yell down to get him back up. The sound stops, but no replied, and it starts all over again. I run to the bathroom and lock the door. I think about jumping out the window. It's a wrench. I text a friend. He's telling me to get out, but I don't know. I don't want to offend my host. There's a knock on the bathroom door, and he says to meet him in the bedroom. The kitchen is next to the bathroom. I consider pocketing a knife. He comes back up, and finally we start fooling around. He won't kiss, and he keeps telling me that it's his first time doing this. The weird thing is that he's oddly comfortable with my body, and he is actually good at gay stuff. He gets very aggressive at one point. I look down the room and spot a blue glass vase. I tell myself that I could use this as a weapon if need be. He doesn't finish, and I ask if I may finish on him. He agrees. He freaks out about it. After I do, he gets up without saying a word and completely naked and walks back down the basement. I put on my underwear and walk to the edge of the stairs. I hear whispers and whispers. There's no one downstairs except for him. Of this, I'm sure. The clanking metal sound continues. There's nothing loud. They just sound like scalpels being placed in a metal surgery tray or tools bouncing out of a toolbox. He's been down there for 5 to 10, 15 minutes now. I'm fully dressed. I'm giving my friend a play-by-play through text, and he tells me to drop him a pin. I don't know how to, so he walks me through the process. And I finally send him my location. He calls me. You have to get out of the house now. I ask why. Do you know where you are? You're out by O'Hare's. My flight or flight completely kicks in, now understanding that I'm stranded in an area that has no access to public transportation and I don't have a car. I yell downstairs to see if he's alright. All sounds stop, but no reply. For a moment, I think about grabbing the keys from his jacket, driving his car a few blocks from my place, and leaving it wherever. At this point, I yell down, I'll be waiting outside. I hear the sound like chains dropping and footsteps coming up heavily up the stairs. I run to the door, fumbling with the lock until I rip it open and get outside. He was naked last time I saw him, so I figured getting dressed will at least slow him down. I freeze for a moment and then I took off running. I made it 2 blocks away before I broke down crying and called an Uber. This was February in Chicago and it was maybe 22 degrees outside and snowing. At this point, Mystery Man tries calling me and I hang up. He texts, where did you go? I say that I got a ride and I'm okay. I blocked his number. I hid between 2 cars at a used car lot while waiting 30 minutes for an Uber to pick me up. I saw Mystery Man's car driving around. 2 Ubers had already canceled and I had to call the third Uber to make him promise that he wouldn't cancel on me because I was in danger. I blocked out his experience mostly. There are some nights when I begin to go over all the details in my head. It destroys me and turns my blood cold. And it's the little red flags that deeply unnerve me. 1. I'm convinced that we were in a model home, or at least a home that he was selling. 2. He was gay and comfortable with himself, but I believe he was referring to something more sinister than he was saying that this was his first time. 3. The smartest thing I did among my foolish choice was not going down the basement. I do not think I would have come back upstairs if I had. 4. There's a moment in the end of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo where a man goes with the killer into the house, knowing by now that he is a serial killer, and the killer says something along the lines of, you knew, but you still came inside. We're too afraid of being rude to go out with an animal instinct and get away from danger. I experienced this firsthand. And 5th, I will always think back to the story that was submitted here last year about a man who was almost killed by John Wayne Gacy at a hotel as a teenager. He said that one day he saw Gacy's fact on TV after being caught, and he had a total breakdown, knowing what almost became him. Something deep inside me tells me that I may have a moment like that myself one day. My tea isn't cold. My tea got cold already. But this was interesting. This was very interesting. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that, like, seriously, I mean, Craigslist. I mean, there has been a lot of instances that Craigslist has turned out to be bad for people. Some murder included. And, well, there's also, like, I don't mind the story of him, like, being gay and all, but the thing I do mind is that, so, it says this: I normally use Grindr to expedite getting my rocks off, but I was having an off week and decided to use another platform that's more to the point. Now, why would you do that? Come on. Like, I don't go to parties. I don't party every weekend. Damn it! I just wait for the weekend to play video games all night. or all day if I have to. Damn. But partying is not part of my regimen. And the thing about this is that I mean, you see what you get when you're like that. You're in the party mood. You get yourself stuck in the middle of nowhere, waiting for an Uber to pick you up because you're in danger. Now, the last bit I didn't get, so I didn't get the whole sequence about what that was, but you know, it is what it is, and this story is interesting. The story is interesting, very interesting. Okay. Let me do point out though, first of all, that first and foremost, thank you for listening to my podcast. If you're listening to it live or if you're listening to it on replay on YouTube. Okay, that was weird. I thought I heard noise, and now my mom is laughing at me. Anyways, I am grateful. Thank you. Secondly, if you are listening to this podcast on your car, please, I do hope that the car is off, or at least it's parked, and you're waiting. You're waiting for the car engine to heat up so you can keep going on your travels. Because playing with your phone while driving is a big hazard, especially to me. Okay, I mean, I'm not just saying this because infomercials say it. I'm saying it because it's happened to me. I seen people on the damn phone, and I'm so close of being murdered. Run over straight like roadkill. Come on, put your phone down. Jesus Christ. Put me on speaker. Hook me up to the aux cord and listen to my beautiful bass in all four corners of your car. Or, if you're with somebody else, just tell them that you want to listen to the After Dark podcast, season 1. And I'm fine with that. I mean, you trust the person, right? Hopefully you do. Hopefully you do. Oh, these next stories are flipping long. Jesus Christ. Wow, this is like a story. I might have just will crack open a book, Alright. This one seems relatively short. This one's called The Cat's Paw by Down Danny. Hold up. Let me just drink the last bit of my tea because it got cold already. I don't like cold tea when it's meant to be hot. When this happened, I was living in a small house with my boyfriend. Now, my husband. And our 2 cats. I was especially close with our male cat, my baby. Oh, okay. My boyfriend always joked that he followed me around like a dog. He was always happy to see me, always wanting to cuddle with me, and would even lick my hair when I was upset. I had never loved the cat so much. My boyfriend was out of town for most of the week for work. I had stayed late at work myself. This particular night, so it was so dark by the time my train pulled into the local station. I usually walked home since it was such a quiet and safe place, and only about 20-minute walk. Part of the walk took me past a church with a small graveyard, and the edge of the graveyard sort of overlooking the road. I'd never been particularly afraid of cemeteries, always found them rather peaceful. But that night, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I heard you pass, but still sort of felt, sort of like as if I was being followed. I kept checking over my shoulder and had my cell phone gripped in my hand, but I didn't see anything. I yelled at myself a little for being so stupid and scaring myself. I got home, was grateful for the lights, and looked at the door. My boy Cat was at the door to greet me. I thought he might want to go out into the yard. He wasn't really an outdoor cat, but he would rather wander around the yard and watch, and with me watching him. He usually begged to go inside with me, but this time, when I went out to unlock the door, he gave me a strange look, and it didn't seem to want to go out. I left the door locked and turned on the TV to try to calm down. My baby snuck with me all night. Stuck with me all night. He seemed more skittish than usual. Anytime there was a loud noise in the TV, or the sister cat, or move, or I moved, he would have jumped and look around wide-eyed. At bedtime, both cats followed the upstairs. By now, my girl cat was acting jumpy too. I had finished the bathroom. I had finished in the bathroom and was standing in on the landing at the top of the stairs, but about to go to the bedroom. I noticed my boy cat, staring out at the ceiling. So I looked up. Above the landing was a door to the attic. Suddenly, there was a loud scraping noise, like metal being dragged along the attic floor. I ran downstairs and both my cats instinctively followed. I had the lights on downstairs. I could still hear the noise, now with the rattling sound. I was trying to think what to do. My cat was beside me, looking up at me. He had a funny look on his face, as if he was concentrating hard. He opened his mouth. He said, "Out." My boyfriend and I had joked before that his meows sometimes sounded like actual words, but this was clearly the word "out." It was still cat-like, like what I imagined a cat accent would sound like if they spoke English, but it was just so clearly the word "out" that I couldn't believe it. I opened the door, scooping his sister cat into my arms as she was freaking out by now, and we all went out. I closed the door behind us, but I really had no idea what to do. It was all so weird, and I didn't want to seem like a crazy person. I walked towards the front of the fence, carrying the one cat. My baby wasn't following me, but had his back to us while he stared at the front door. And then he just lost it. I've never seen a cat behave as he did. He was screeching, twisting his whole body around while he was slashing in the air. I put my other cat down and tried to go to him, but he turned around, hissed at me, and gave me a slashing motion, like he wanted me to stay back. This carried on for a whole minute, while he jumped around, slamming into the ground, and looked like he was really getting hurt. I was in tears as I didn't know how to help. And just as suddenly as it started, he stopped. He started off at this. He stared off at the distance a few seconds, then started calmly washing his paws. Eventually, he came over and rubbed himself against my leg. About a month later, I noticed that he was bleeding from his paws. I took him to the vet. He said he probably got his claw stuck on something and tore his skin, getting free. She said it should heal by itself, but after another week, it hadn't. So he had to have stitches. Almost exactly a year later, he started bleeding from his paw again. They ran tests on him, but everything came back normal, and all they could do was stitch it up again. The bleeding paw continued off and on for another couple years, although it never seemed to get in the way of his being a happy, fun-loving cat. Unfortunately, during another round of testing this year, they found a cancer, and though he was doing well, probably doesn't have long. I still have no idea what actually happened that night, but it does feel as if he saved me and his sister from something. Sometimes I wonder if the cancer is related. Whatever it all means, he is a wonderful, brave cat, and I love him. I told you guys about how animals, can sense danger or evil when it's afoot. You know what I mean? Perfectly good example was this cat, and you know, A lot of people act as if cats don't really save their owners. But in this story, it turns out that the cat actually does save, you know, his human, which is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Wow. Always pay attention to your pets, people. Yes. And even if they are chihuahuas, they still sense something. Chihuahuas are brave dudes. And they're the goodest of boys and girls. Anyways, we'll go for one more because these seem like, rather long. And we'll continue, I'll continue to say what's gonna happen, and with the podcast and everything. So, the story's called "Don't Worry, I'm Leaving" by P Before You Go. This happened to a friend of a friend earlier this summer, as told by my friend. I'll call her friend Jane. Jane is a nurse who works at a specific shift at a local hospital and keeps a really consistent schedule. She gets up at 5 a.m., takes a shower, and then heads off to work. Jane lives in a bungalow a block away from Green Lake in Seattle. For those of you unfamiliar, Green Lake is a very popular place for running outdoors and park activities, dining, etc. And it's super busy during the summer. It's common for people to be out so late at night during the summer, so Jane didn't think anything was amiss when she heard noises outside her house at midnight. She woke up again around 3 a.m., but this time the noises were louder, like if something was hitting or tapping her house. She turned on all the lights and walked around her place, but didn't see anything, and went back to bed. She felt uneasy and didn't sleep well the rest of the night, and woke up just before her alarm went off at 5 a.m. As she sat up in bed, she looked around her open bedroom door to see a man on all fours, army crawling down the hall towards her bedroom. As my friend tells it, Jane screamed, and as she goes to grab her phone to call 911, the man calmly stands, looks at her, and says, "Don't worry, I'm leaving." The man turns around and walks towards the front door. She shuts her bedroom door and called the police. After the police arrived, she discovered the man had removed all of her windows, presumably entered her home around the time she woke up at 3. The police did not believe he intended to rob her since he didn't take any of her valuables. The only thing he did take were her car keys and her house keys that were in her purse by the front door. My friend's husband is a cop and believes that the only reason this guy was so calm is because he has likely done this before. He also thinks he had probably been watching her from time to time and knew her schedule well enough to attack her when she was the most defenseless, making a shower. Whether he took her keys as a mindfuck or because he intended to come back is beyond me, but it's so creepy. Yeah, that's why you have that little chain, you know what I'm talking about? That chain thingy in the top. Have those like locks that don't show up in the other side and just close the door from the inside, and you tell your kids you tell your kids that you better come at 12, like before 12, like around 11:30, and if you come like at 11:31, the door closes, son. And just lock that fool out. Come out, man. You don't want this to happen to you. I mean, a house is sacred for everybody. You live here. This is your dojo. This is your domain. And all of a sudden, something like this happens. I mean, be careful, guys. Be careful. Whether you're living in a house or an apartment, it's still very, very creepy. Very creepy at all. Anyways, guys, let me see. If I find another short one, I'll tell it because all these seem so damn long. Jesus Christ. No, they're all they're all very long. They're like that's more than 20 paragraphs. Jesus Christ. Look at this. Even this one does seem small. But anyways, that was it for episode 15 of the After Dark podcast. Thank you guys so much for staying here. These stories are interesting. The one that really got me the most, like, what the hell did I just read, was definitely the one. Let me see. A different kind of grinder by Look for the Nines. It was weird, like not in the sense that like the way like what I just read, but I don't know. There wasn't any much like there wasn't a lot of details as to what was going on in the thing. I mean, this person just pretty much described like everything, like, and I mean everything. I'm talking about like like I put my pants on, and then 2 seconds later I put one sock on, and then I put the other sock on, and then I put one shoe on, and then I put the other shoe on. You get what I mean? Like, he just detailed everything that wasn't important in the story, and just became, I don't know. I blocked out this experience mostly. There are some nights when I begin to go over the details. I don't know. I mean, the sequence that he goes by in his head about like what could have happened, that wasn't necessary to the story. I hid between two cars that I used car sale slot while waiting 30 minutes for an Uber to pick me up. I saw Mr. Mankind. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird story. But anyways, I mean, we did read some creepy stories. Yeah, like the Maria one, I like that one. At My Window too, that was kind of weird. 911 was cool too. But nevertheless, guys, if you guys want to read these stories for yourself, the website is called Jezebel.com. JEZEBEL.com. Okay, and it's filed under Scary Stories, so you know where to look. So, guys, thank you guys for coming. I really do appreciate it. This has been episode 15. 15 episodes through the podcast. To be honest with you guys, I didn't know if I was going to break. Like the first week, I thought I was going to break. Like, oh, that's it, it's over. I was going to be like that episode of SpongeBob where he thinks his career is over. Just because of, like, he's like juggling patties and all of a sudden he like trips. My career, it's over. But I am thoroughly enjoying reading you guys' stories, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the podcast too. So yes, I don't know. I'm still debating on what to do tomorrow because this pretty much today files the halfway point of October, right? With October 31st being the special day of the month and the best day of the year. Right? I mean, aside from other things you guys have in mind, a parent's birthday, your anniversary. But I mean, if your anniversary is on Halloween, phew, dude, good luck. Good luck trying to forget that, Oh my god. Which it would be cool. It would be cool having an anniversary on Halloween. I would definitely like that. So, thank you guys for coming. I really do appreciate it. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so. I'll leave a link in the description below. You can follow me, I'll follow you back, okay? Like I said, we're all friends. We can chat, send pictures, send memes. If you guys have any scary stories you want to tell, scary stories, horror stories, like the stories that happen to you, and if they're not too personal, of course, urban legends, or just folklore that you guys want me to read on the podcast, please do so. send them to me over on Twitter, please. I would really like to read them all. So, so send them to me with the hashtag The After Dark Podcast or hashtag TADP. Once again, it's hashtag The After Dark Podcast or hashtag TADP. And of course, I will read. I will like give full credit to whoever sends it to me. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you can do so as well. I am an artist, a digital artist and a traditional artist, and I normally post from 8 to 9 a.m. No, hold up. Let me retract that. I usually post from on Wednesday and Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. California time. But since it is October, I am partaking in the Inktober challenge, which is pretty much me, posting every day, like drawing every day, posting new drawings every day. And for me, this week was full of fan art. So there's a whole seven drawings of fan art, I believe. It should be seven, if my calculations are not wrong. But they're up in my channel or page right now if you guys want to see it. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, I don't normally say this, but if you guys enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Send me recommendations in the comment section. What do you guys want to hear? Like what kind of horror stories you guys want to hear? And I will sit here and read them to you. And, consider subscribing if you like this content. And I do play games, and if you like gaming channels, subscribe to my channel. That would mean a lot to me, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And for one more time before I go, this has been the 15th episode of the series. What comes tomorrow will change, or maybe it'll be the same. I don't know yet. We will just have to wait and see. And on that note, remember to always look under your bed. Check the closet for monsters. And always, look behind you. Because you may never know who is watching you from afar. Peace out, everybody. Have a great and safe night.